This is Chris. Oh my God. I'm like, okay, so we got started. Looks like there's a lot of people, so I'm Alicia, the project coordinator with the council, and we're just gonna go around and start with introductions, who you're with, if there's any upcoming events that are happening. I know we have a few that we're gonna be emailing out after this, so I'll start with introductions to my left, and I'm also gonna pass this around. If you're already a member, like on our email list and whatnot, you can just write your name. If you're new, put your email in there and number so we can send you guys everything from the meeting.
All right. I'm Chris Grimes. I am on the Board of Education and am the Board of Education representative.
Good morning, Lindsay Simpson. I'm with Riverside County Schools. I'm our prevention specialist. And I'll be sharing some more with you guys a little bit later. My name is Ainsley Miller. I work for the Insight program. I'm a substance abuse counselor, but I'm also based inside of North Riverside High School, helping students doing substance prevention and education.
I'm Leannis. I'm also an Insight counselor, and I'm at the academies, Gateway and Riverside Academy, doing substance prevention over there. Go to Lambert and Central as well as that.
Hi, I'm Lauren Hexton. I also work at the Insight program, and I'm getting trained to do what they do. Yay! I'm Amy Dice. I'm at North Riverside High School, and I am under student support, so just taking care of kids and work at Ainsley and
I'm Sam, work with the Insight program and work with the adolescent side of the program down in Roswell.
I'm Kristen Keith. I'm the Assistant Director for Student Support for Foresight. We have health services, social work, prevention services, all that fall under our umbrella, counselors and mental health prevention. So how does that relate?
I'm Amy Gomez. I'm one of the school social workers in the school system. I serve ACE Academy, which is Gateway Foresight Academy, Foresight Virtual, and then New Hope Elementary also.
Hi, I'm Abigail Dubin. I'm the case manager at the Drop. We serve unaccompanied youth 18 to 24 who are either homeless or at risk of homelessness. I'm Judy Davenport. I'm with Avita as the youth specialist for the Foresight County Jail in this program.
It's Jerry Merritt. I'm the clinical director with the Avita Community Partners.
Adrian Anderson, I'm the executive director of the Child Advocacy.
Caleb Bergeron, executive director of the Connection. I'd like to give a shout out to the men who braved this meeting today. The Connection, we help people with substance abuse issues. We do peer counseling, but we have a lot of events. We have a big event coming up September 7th. We have a lot of recovery meetings. And if folks don't have insurance, we can help them through an organization through Hope Dealers. Anything we can do, we just did something with, we do a lot of things on the wellness, so it's just not eating and being on the peers. So we want the community to come into our events and stuff so they can see that, hey, you can get your life back, you can live your best life. And so this wellness program, we're doing something with the science of the brain in a few weeks. We have something coming up on boundaries. We have a program with Sprouts where we built a garden and the kids come in. They did amazing. You know, I wasn't sure if kids these days in high school put their hands in the dirt, right? Talk about outstanding leaders. And so we're always looking to do something, whether or not it's giving back to another organization to volunteers. So we're on the hunt. We're ready to rock and roll. So.
I'm Dana
Bryan. I'm a former middle school teacher, but I'm here because I'm the mother of a child who died at 15 because of heroin overdose. Susan Tanner, stepmom to addiction. And I mentor about 4 schools in the county, and we have a Monday night moms group of moms in addiction. Good morning, Margarita Jimenez. I'm the director of the DROP, as Abigail mentioned. We support 18 to 24-year-olds. A lot of them are couch surfing, and some of the high schools too, we're going to bring some brochures to local far and state testing date, and hopefully pass them about any clients that might be supported, or anybody wants to volunteer support.
I'm Kirsten Banks, and I'm with Therapeutic Recovery Network, and we also have Parent Recovery Network.
One other thing, we talk about overdose awareness month. We already have the banners representing the lives lost to drug overdose. We're working with the state. On August 27th, we're planning like a press event with warrior moms to talk about their experiences. But one of the things I admire mostly about the warrior moms is their resilience and how they have helped us in our walk through life so it's possible. And so I'll have someone from the Georgia Overdose Prevention, we want to give people the tools that they tribute to the lives. More to come.
And I'm Amy Ballard, and I'm advocacy specialist with CASA.
Well, I'm Matt Meyer, I'm that guy. Program director for the Insight program. Drug and alcohol treatment for adolescents and young adults. And as these guys mentioned, we partner a lot with schools to help them out, support them. So just happy to be here. It's been a while, so let's stop by and say hi.
Zoom members, anyone want to introduce yourself?
Hey, my name's Adam Miller. I'm in business development at Blue Ridge Mountain Recovery Center. I'm also on the board for the council. Good morning.
Hi, I'm Janice Nyer. I'm in Fort Myers, Florida, and I am the communications director. So send me all your flyers. Thank you.
I'm Manasvi, and I'm a high school student that is a sophomore at Southwest High School, and I just started a new Brain Bee chapter, which pretty much kind of like promotes mental health awareness, like as a club at my school.
Hi, I'm Cindy Mills. So sorry I couldn't be there in person. Change of babysitting schedule and didn't have time to line up a babysitter, but I'll be there next month. Good to hear all of your voices. And Mansavi, you need to get with me on our mental health council meetings too. That might be beneficial to you guys since you've started that at the school. Anyway, good to hear everybody.
Aaron?
Yep. Hi, I'm Erin Deedy, a mom, and I'm also on the fundraising committee.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, I'm Rachel Caden. I'm the program director of the Forsyth County Drug Awareness Council. I'm on maternity leave right now, and I miss you guys. It's so good to hear everybody. But I just wanted to check in and hear Lindsay's presentation and make sure she does everything right, which I'm sure she will, and I'm very excited to hear from her. So, see you guys next month.
Well, yeah, so our presenter today is Lindsay Simpson. She's on the board and she went to, in April, the Nashville Drug Summit. So she'll be reporting her what was presented.
Well, good morning. I do have notes. If you guys have been, and I know I think Kirsten, you've been to National Art. Didn't you go last year? Year before last? Did you go? So a couple of us have been, and if you ever go, like you leave there with so much information. Like it is literally information overload. So I did print out some presentations, and I'm just going to do kind of a recap for you guys today about the conference or the summit. I was very thankful for this opportunity. I had kind of done like an every other year thing, and this year it was held in Nashville, and the timing was right so that I could go, because you know when you have littles, you got to have childcare, you know who's getting them on the bus and all of those things. So very thankful to have this opportunity. Is there a way I can move this? I'm scared to touch, like, we had technology troubles this morning getting it going. Perfect, there we go. So this was held at the Gaylord in Nashville, and if you've never been, it was an absolutely like beautiful place. Like a lot of steps that I got in while I was there, trying to figure it out because it was like a maze. And then like day 2, I finally figured out there's 2 ends to the conference center. So there was a lot of, action-packed things that happened there. So this is a leading event with a lot of like big speakers, a lot of like political folks that hold what I would call like higher seats in office, like senators that are there, state representatives that are there presenting. So it's just a really, awesome experience to network, find other resources, and hear the latest and greatest information. Almost all of the sessions kind of have like research behind them. So they have like a case study, and then they also provide information to you. So there were over 75 different sessions that were offered. They do have different tracks, like they had a clinical track, they had a prevention track, a recovery track, and then there were 2 others that were also offered as well. And while you're here, it's a time to hear about strategies that decision makers have like impact. So they can actually take what we're saying and go on and make changes, or they share with us anything that they are working on kind of behind the scenes. So anything I share with you guys today, I'm happy to send you slides. You have to download them through the app. You actually can't like log in. So I brought like 2 sessions that I really enjoyed. I went ahead and printed out the slides and brought them today if anybody wants to take a look at those. And so this was just the front of the convention center when you walked in. As I mentioned, it was a very pretty place to see, but it was a 4-day conference. There were over 3,000 attendees there. So there was a lot of moving pieces. And if you did not get to your session early, you were sitting on the floor. So I learned that very quickly, and it was just like everywhere. So people just wanted a space to be able to hear some of these sessions. So a lot of standing room and togetherness. I attended 16 different sessions over those 4 days. It started like at lunch on Monday and it ended on Thursday afternoon, and all 50 states were represented. So it was really nice to know that there was people from all across the United States that were there. So a couple of highlights that I made note of is that here in the US, there's a very rapid shift in the drug landscape. So a lot of changing things that are happening. I know this was in April and I attended another conference in July, and it was very interesting to see what the July conference was talking about is the new and upcoming emerging drug trends that are out there. There are some shifting policies such as legalization. So that's always a big topic at any kind of substance use conference I've been to over the last few years, because it is becoming legalized in more and more states. And then our young people are like, well, it's legal, I can use that substance. So, it's very interesting to hear how we can help equip our young people with the knowledge. Kayla, I like that you guys shared talking about that brain and the science, because we truly have science to back this prevention work. And that's what we have to share with parents. I mean, young parents. As an elementary parent, like the things I already hear from my kids, parents, is like, we have got to educate earlier and earlier our community and our parents that we have. There's a lot of new methods of administration for many different drugs that are out there. And then within the past 20 years, there's been about 1,000 new psychoactive substances identified. That's a lot just in the last 20 years. I think about like my age is what I related this to. And I'm like, wow, that's a ton that has been identified within the past 20 years. There were some, and I couldn't like exactly copy these slides, but a couple of things I wanted to mention that some of you guys may have shared. I don't think we have anyone here from law enforcement, but maybe they have, some knowledge in that area. But one thing that was shared was talking about 2C. Anybody heard of that? It's like TUSI. Matt, have you heard of it?
Is that the new opiate one?
So it's considered, they call it like pink cocaine is what they're calling it. But apparently there's no cocaine in it. It's actually just a drug concoction that is made. So that was one of them that was mentioned to us. The other one was, and I have the pronunciation because I'm afraid I'm going to say this wrong, but they call it gas station heroin, but it's Tiuptene. It's like TAIUHNPTEN is how it's spelled. So that's another one that's coming, and it's a drug concoction. So in past years, I feel like we've had like weed, or you've had like a designated drug, but now we're seeing a lot more of what those concoctions will be. And then they talked a lot about our young people utilizing fake Xanax. So they're able to get their hands on those things. So those were kind of three that this particular session had highlighted. One thing I enjoy when I go to National RX is being able to see the resources. And this campaign was actually launched while we were there. It's called the Better Without It campaign. And so it is a campaign that is specifically focused on Gen Z, because our Gen Z population, they need to hear more than just saying no. So the Gen Z population is very focused on their mental health. The Gen Z population is very diverse. They're socially aware, individualistic, and they want to have that life balance. So I looked into this. I've actually pulled some of their stuff and I grabbed some while I was there. I want you guys, before you leave, I have a ton of like the freebies that they had shared, but these are items that are already created that as a council we can utilize. So that was one thing to me, is like, what can I bring back from the summit that we can actually use, here in our community. So they have handouts, you can print them, or you can actually get some from their website. But as you can see, their campaign is kind of focused around 4 pillars. And I know it may be hard to read in the back like Kristen, but it's body, mind, relationship, and then also their future. So instead of telling our kids, like, just say no, don't do that, it actually focuses on what does it do to your body, talks about those relationships, what does it do to your mind, and also the future for that particular person that impacts. So I really liked this campaign. I'll lay these out and you guys feel free to take a look. I will share my presentation, and what I tried to do is link the campaigns down in the bottom corner. So if you guys want to take a look at those resources and see if it's something we can utilize, I think that would be awesome for us to do that. Another resource, and I forgot to tell y'all, when you went into like the exhibit hall, they had over 100 different ones there. So you had to kind of spread out your days because you could never get through and see everyone in the exhibit hall. But the Brevard Prevention Coalition, they have a lot of other free resources. And I always envision like this would be amazing, like to have the presence they do for our community coalition here in Forsyth County. So they are quite a few years in to establishment, but they are out of Florida. And so they offer like free webinars for parents in the community. So I picked this up while I was there because this was relevant when I was, but the lady told me like you're free to log on, but like May 16th, they had a session that was parenting in an addictive world, when to step in and how to help. And then on June 3rd, they had another one about like real talk with substance use and how to intervene. And so they just pull in experts and then they offer these to the community. And it made me think like we have tons of knowledge like right here in the room. Like when I go around like Kirsten, and then you have experience, like we have tons of people here in the room that could do these. It would just be us as a coalition kind of organizing them. So Rachel, I'm sharing an idea of something I would like to see for our parents and community members to get this information, because I know we host the drug summits, but sometimes we're like, are we getting the right people there? So how can we meet our community where they are? But as you can see, they had the parent one. Then they also had a handout that they give out to students, and it was talking about how vaping can affect your athletic performance. And so that's really big here in our community, whether it's in school or outside of school. Our young people are involved in a lot of different athletics. And then they had a handout about ways to cope with stress. And I felt like these are all like simple things, but easy enough that we could pull together and help distribute as a coalition. So really nice to kind of have some model like items that we could give out. I attended one session about brain development. So that's one thing I really enjoy, is hearing about the science and how it affects the brain. And so I had never heard this doctor speak, but it was Dr. Kristen Gillen. And she actually works at the Warren Center for Neuroscience Drug Discovery at Vanderbilt. And she was able to say that title very quickly, but it is a mouthful to be able to get that out. But she is actually a mom who lost her son. So she has her own personal story that she shares, but losing her son kind of, allowed her to be more passionate about this work. She went back to school, and then at Vanderbilt, she's actually created a program that is used in some schools there. So it's like a community program that they have, and I was going to tell you guys the name of it. and I'm happy to send notes. If you guys know the joke, a couple of years ago, Cindy and Rachel made fun of me for how many notes I take when I go to conferences. But I usually always have my computer out and I'm typing away because I like to keep it all organized. So it's an outreach and advocacy program. And so they go in to schools and other community groups, and they actually teach young people about brain development, the neuroplasticity, the pruning of the brain, and then they reframe unhealthy self-narratives into healthy self-narratives. So they actually have like little scenarios that they use when they go in with their students. They had a game that we played while we were there as well. We weren't allowed to take pictures of the slides because that's something I was like, let me take a picture. Like we could reproduce this and use it in groups or, you know, different ways that we could get education out. But she was an amazing speaker in what she shared. She has One Choice Prevention is kind of her nonprofit that she's created. So once again, a lot of resources. They actually had a toolkit that you can download. And so it looks like this. I have not completely dug into it, but it's quite lengthy. You know, she's got like pictures of what it used to look like and how we marketed to young people. So I thought like this was a really good like toolkit for us to have all in one place. And I think we should keep her in mind as like a speaker for parents, community, or even the council in general, because she had a lot of really good knowledge. And she did a really good job taking her story and then turning it into something impactful within the state of Tennessee. The last morning of the conference, there was a guest speaker that was not like on the agenda. So you guys know, like years ago, Trump showed up, but like we didn't know till the night before. So if it's anybody kind of big, they keep it like under tight ropes until it's like time to happen. So the night before, we found out that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was going to be the keynote speaker on the final day. So everyone got there, they lined up, you know, to get in early. It was like a big to-do to be able to hear him speak. This was a seat or a picture from my seat that I took. So you could see like it was, even though you got there early, it was difficult to get up towards the front. But more than anything, and I had not heard Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s story. And so he actually shared his personal addiction story, which began when he was 15 years old, and his drug of choice was heroin. So he shared his story. He talked a lot about how he had his experience with addiction. He shared some stories. He used psychedelics for a while, so he shared like a dinosaur story with us. That was just like one of those things you always remember. And you can actually, I think you can like Google this and you can actually watch his whole speech because there was news stations all around the room when he was sharing. I'll try to find that and link that for you guys. So if you want to listen to that, you can. But he talked about his story and his experience with addiction. He shared that he went through the 12 steps and that he has actually attended a meeting every single day since he's been in recovery. He said, I've not missed one day. And actually the morning of this, he shared he went to a meeting in Nashville. So he's like, I found one here because I know I have to have that level of commitment for myself. He talked about his daily habits. He also talked a little bit about his views on smartphones, which I thought was interesting. And he made a specific comment about making sure you're sitting down and having dinner with your family around the table. And that's truly where it starts, is having that conversation with your kids. Another thing that while he was speaking, he was interrupted numerous times. So I was unaware that previously he had made some speeches and done like some public speaking about different things. And so throughout the event, people were like holding signs. There was a few people that stood up and they were actually escorted out. So they had like Secret Service. They would appear from behind the doors and they would not grab, but they would take the person and escort them out of the room. So while it was very nice to be there and hear his story, there was a lot of other things that were also going on in the room. And so when someone's sharing their story, I want to just be respectful, you know, and hear what they have to say. But he was kind of our highlight, hearing him speak to everyone on that final morning. You guys have all seen the doTERRA pouches, I believe, like the black pouches that are given out. The council and some of our youth members obtained a grant and they were able to like give those out. But while I was at the summit, I came across a vendor that I had never heard of. Some of you may have, but it was called the RX Destroyer. And so these are drug disposal pouches, but what's more important is that they're reusable. So you guys know with the doTERRA bags, you tear it off, you put the meds in, and then you put water in there and you like shake it and it activates that little, it's like a block of charcoal that's in there. So I met this vendor and they were able to give me a few samples. And I came back, and I think the next day I got back, I actually like called Rachel and sent her a picture, and I'm like, we need to get these. Like, this is a really good way, you know, to distribute out in the community. These are non-toxic. I know that was like the big concern because the liquid is right inside of here. So if you spill it, you know, it won't harm anything. You put the meds in and you shake it up. And so the good news is you can put it back on the shelf and you can add more meds. It's not like a one-time use like the doTERRA pouches. I like to take action, you know, when I hear things. So what I did was I had reached out to our lead nurse, which is Heidi Avila, and I'm like, Heidi, like, I have to show you these because we use doTERRA pouches within the school setting. So at the end of the school year, our school nurses receive the big bag so that any meds that they have, they can properly dispose of them. I think we started that 2 years ago. And so I told her about these and she's like, that is awesome because throughout the year, meds do expire, especially if they're prescription meds. And to make sure we're properly disposing of them, we want to make sure we give our nurses what they need. So we were able to purchase at least one of these for all of our school nurses to have. So they were given out, I think last week or the week before. So all of our school nurses have these. And then Rachel said, you know, in the future, it may be something we can, you know, look at using once we use up our doTERRA pouches. Went back, saw the same vendor when I was at CADCA, and they shared with me that they now have a bigger bottle, and this may be a better option to keep in our med cabinets, like in our school clinics. So this is the same thing, but it's a, you know, in a bottle form, and you can just take it off, and it has this one's sealed. You just put them in there and shake it up, and then you can keep this. So it can be used in the home. They did share with me that they typically work in a hospital setting, that just in the past year or so, they're actually exploring more of like the home market, more of our, you know, like residential type setting. So we have, I brought a few of these. So if anybody needs one, feel free to grab one and take it. And then as I was sharing with our school nurse Heidi, we think we'll purchase these in the future because they seem a little more sustainable. These can fall over kind of easy, but I was excited to find those because it's kind of like, you know, latest and greatest, what can we have and utilize to help properly dispose of meds within our community. And then went to a session for a DEA, like an agent, you know, theirs, it's the Drug Enforcement Agency. His name was Robert Murphy. And one of the things that he had shared within his, and it was interesting because he had shared this before we heard Kennedy on the last day, but what he had shared was those conversations around the dinner table, and those conversations early and often are what truly have the greatest impact. And we may feel like those conversations are small or they're not having an impact, but they truly are the most powerful of all. And when I think about that, what comes to mind for me is those relationships. So not only the ones we have here in our community of knowing who to go to when we're in crisis, but who can we reach out to when it's our own kids? Like, do our own kids want to come to us, or are they going to ChatGPT or another AI and trying to get resources? Because that was a session I went to at CADCA. It was talking about how our young people are so lonely that they're actually turning to the chat bots that we have to look for that relationship building and communication piece. So prevention truly can be as powerful as prosecution. So these were just a couple of things that he had shared. And I was like, wow, it kind of like summed up some of the work that we do, really making an impact with those relationship pieces. Any questions you guys have? That was kind of like a big summary. Like, I pulled out every session. I'm like, they don't want to hear every session I went to. One I went to was about communication on fentanyl, and like I thought it would be like community, but it was more about law enforcement, like properly handling fentanyl so that they don't have an exposure risk. So that was interesting to hear. And they actually talked about how a lot of times in those realms that while fentanyl can be deadly, don't want to like dismiss that, is that a lot of times when we do have a reaction, it's induced by anxiety. So like we're worried in the situation, what's going to happen when I come into that, and it's a panic attack. So that was one thing they talked a lot about that I thought, you know, was really interesting there. Any questions about National RX?
It,
Great job.
Forget about it.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I'm one, like, I keep these actually, I I have these notes printed and I keep them handy because I know as we are working on increasing our prevention programming and finding better supports for our students, or even when someone calls, like what do we have handy, you know, to be able to provide people that is the latest and greatest. I want to make mention to you guys, I went to CADCO, which was the Community Anti-Drug Coalition of America. I'm sure if you've been around the council a while, you guys know that's kind of like where we get our 7 strategies for the work that we do, all of that information. But it was a great conference, but a couple of things I took away from that was how many of our young people are turning to AI, whatever bot it may be that they're utilizing to try and communicate, like rather than having those relationships with their friends, they're turning to those AI tools. I'm happy to share they gave us like a list of some that, like I know ChatGPT and Magic School, and there's a lot of different ones out there, but they gave us a list that I'm happy to share with you guys, just so you're aware. There was also another session about, it's called Tall Cop Says Stop. If you guys have never heard of him, he used to be in the law enforcement field, but he's very passionate about substance use prevention for youth. He would not allow us to take any pictures, and he actually called a lady out and asked her to leave because she was taking a picture of a slide. That he's very passionate, which he should be because he's got a ton of amazing work. But his work is all around, you know, looking at what our young people kind of have access to. And if you go, you can just Google him. He's on Instagram, Facebook, and he puts out a newsletter that I've gotten, and it has a ton of good stuff in there. But I understand why he didn't want pictures taken. Because what he does is when he travels, and he said he usually goes to at least like 2 states a month to present, that he is actually taking pictures out in communities. And so he doesn't want, you know, those to be, you know, shared out elsewhere with them. But he talked a lot about drug potentiators. I can say that word slow. And now it's kind of like, I've heard of it, but not, you know, heard tons like about it. But then when he showed me pictures, I'm like, oh, I seen that at the gas station the other day. So it's like these little bottles that are put in there, and it enhances the effects of drugs. So it kind of like spikes it or helps enhance that. And I know I wanted to kind of, I haven't been any convenience stores here in Forsyth County since this, but I'd like to kind of see if I see that anywhere that we have, but it's called Phenibut. Have you heard of that? Okay. So it's PHENIBUT, and it's a powerful synthetic depressant. It is not FDA approved. We do not know if Narcan can reverse the effects of it, but it helps spike the high when someone is using an opioid. It rarely shows up on drug tests. So he shared that that's kind of a trending thing that we're seeing among young people because it's easy to buy. And you can, you know, if you've taken pills, you can utilize that and it spikes that high that you may feel. He also shared with us about the alcohol drinks. I don't know if any of you have seen them in Forsyth County. I have not, but I've seen signs like advertising. So the ones that, you know, have the cannabis that are in them, he's saying they're becoming more and more popular being sold in convenience stores. Like you can just walk in and buy the can. It's right over there, like where the beer and the other mixed drinks are in your convenience stores. But we're seeing more and more of that actually placed outside of like liquor stores. Like you're seeing the advertisements for those. And he shared a ton of amazing pics, but once again, it was like some that he had took, and he actually shared some from Georgia. So that was one thing I'm like, oh, I'm seeing like Texas and Tennessee and, you know, the Carolinas, but he had some from Georgia. Has any of you guys seen them? Anybody?
Yeah, I've seen them.
You've seen them? Yeah, he says it's like the new trend. You've seen them too? Where does? Yeah, I've like seen them, but not actually like other places, not here. You know, in Forsyth County, so I don't know. I'm sure
Have
they're
people
coming.
seen like, because we're on the topic, like an uptick in them selling a lot of those shady and high products? And Cindy, I don't know if you're listening, like in Forsyth County gas stations, because I know they really got rid of it for a while, but it seems to be coming back that they're getting those products in convenience stores in Forsyth County, where, you know, I know the council and Cindy worked so hard to get it out, but I've noticed that a lot of those places in the county are carrying those products again. So
Matt, I'm afraid that it's not being enforced like it was. And I think that our ordinance is just like everything else. It has to be updated. I sent them requests when I saw that video about the drinks, and I sent it to the county attorney, and I said, I think that the ordinance should be updated, but If there's not a commissioner that's pushing it, I'm fearful. And, you know, the sheriff could push it. And I talked to Ron about it and told him that I thought that we might need to update our ordinance to give them more enforcement opportunity. But it might be good if Ron were to hear from some citizens. I know some of you are good friends with him, and just to say, we used to have really strong ordinance, and are we still enforcing it? And does it need to be updated to include all of these various things? Because we were ahead of every other county, I believe.
Wish we could get him at one of our meetings. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Lindsay?
Yes.
Also, this month in the Strategizer that's coming out a week from this Friday, I have articles in there also under advocacy about bills that are going through the U.S. Congress right now that we're going to close the loopholes in the hemp laws that would prevent these cannabis drinks from being sold around the country. It will ban them. However, there is a movement under Senator, I believe he's a senator, Rand Paul, who is trying to carve out another loophole for the alcoholic and cannabis infused drinks to be continued to be sold. So there's the article is in there asking people to contact their Georgia legislatures that are in the U.S. Congress. And so there'll be ways for us to follow this, but that's all in the Strategizer. And I have reported on the gas station drugs before. So a lot of this information is being put out in your Strategizers. So please take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I always feel like even though we find a way to close the loophole, it's like they create something else. Like when he was talking about the Finibet, he's like, your 10-year-old could go in and buy this at a gas station. And that's when as a mom, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, no, like, you know, like it really becomes aware, you know, when it's just right there. It looks like, I'm trying to think, years ago, they had like a little bottle and it was to help you sleep. It was like blue and white. I can't remember, but it was like promoted as a way to help you sleep. And so that's what these are. It's just little bitty bottles. And when you turn it over and read the ingredients, and he had tons of pictures. He actually had like interviews where he would walk into a vape shop and he had an undercover camera and he would ask them, and like, I mean, they were very like big on promoting, like, this is what you need. This is what you need. It'll help you sleep, but it actually, you know, spikes, you know, those particular drugs of choice. Let's see. So he's saying they're being promoted as a mood enhancer, but look for that Finibet that you will see. They're about $7, so they're very cheap to be able to buy those. And then, as I mentioned, they're not showing up on drug tests. So just something else, you know, for us to keep in mind, like when we see students who are under the influence, and then we've got a clean drug test, like what have they really put within their bottles? Talking about the alcohol drinks, one that he mentioned he sees a lot is called Cannabier. So it's CANNABIER. And he had shared a picture of us with that. But he's saying that a lot of times our liquor stores, it's about product placement. You guys all know with marketing. So a lot of the CBD drinks are the ones that are cannabis infused, are placed right on end caps, right between like your tequila and also your rum, like right where they are. So being that they're there, easy to use. Most of them have between 5 to 10 milligrams. That's within them, and they're promoted as seltzers, fruit drinks, sodas, sparkling waters, shots, and then also juices that are out there. They had one that was called Cherry Cream, and so it's actually, it had Delta-9 in it, and it had like 2 scoops of ice cream, like so appealing to a young person. I mean, not only like an under 21, but even like a 25 year old as well. He also talked about herbal drugs and kind of trends that we are seeing there as well. And he shared they're all over Amazon. Anybody can go on, type in your birthday and get them shipped right to your door. Powder and liquid forms that we are seeing places kind of pop up, like herbal places that are popping up. And they're seeing a lot of shrooms is kind of the #1 drug trend that he shared. He's like, that's what's coming. He's like, for your young people, shrooms, that is what he shared. That's coming back. He said microdosing is something that was kind of like a thing of the past that's definitely coming back, that we are seeing. So he's like, within the next couple of months, he goes, I promise you guys are going to see shrooms. He goes, you're going to see them in your schools. You're going to see them in your communities. We're going to see it across the nation. So I'm waiting to see if that's correct. He shared some pictures with us too of like shroom coffee shops that have opened up. They also have vapes and teas as well. So I think it was in his newsletter. I'm going to look, and if it is, I'll see if there's a way Rachel or Janice can link that, because he sent out a newsletter right after this conference. So
Lindsay,
kind of nice to hear, you know, like up and trending things. He does a lot of environmental scans. As I shared all the pictures, that's where he gets all of his stuff. I know it's been like talked about before about like adults going out and doing environmental scans or even letting youth do environmental scans. And he kind of cautioned against our youth being the ones to do those environmental scans. And that if an adult is there, you know, you don't want to necessarily like say like I'm here, because you don't want it to be like a gotcha for them. So you have to be kind of inconspicuous if you want honest information from them to have that. And then
hey, Lindsay,
yes,
can you do, you have time to do a one pager that we could send to, I mean, like, I'm close friends with several state representatives, that we could send, I will send it to all of them, but they need just something with short talking points, you know, of just what it is. I mean, all the hemp-like products that would encourage them and give them a solid foundation to be against it, you know, to vote. I did all of them last year. And they said that there was a bill that was created, like Janice said, and it'll come to a vote next year. And the good thing with us coming out from under once our grant runs out, which it's about to, we will be able to change the council a little bit where we couldn't advocate before. If we're not getting funds from them, I think we'll be safe to do some advocating and, you know, especially some education with all of the state representatives, and just do a better job in getting involved in issues like this.
A question for you, Commissioner Mills. I don't know if you've applied, I don't know where the opioid grant stands. I know the county got some funds last year. We just applied. Is there any potential funding for here?
so you may want to speak to this. I'll tell you what I do know, because I was on a call yesterday with the county. So there were like a couple of components, like for the award the county got. So we wanted to enhance our CHAMPS program, which is the Choosing Healthy Activities and Methods Promoting Safety. It's kind of like an updated version of DARE. So it's through law enforcement. So I know the Sheriff's Department is working on that. Talked to some of our SROs earlier this week about that. So they're working on updating that component. Another component was we're increasing our substance use coaches that we have in schools. And so we're actively working on that. We got one new addition, and we're hoping, Matt, to get some more. We are working on trying to find those, so we're able to expand that. Let's see. They're like, I have no idea. There was another piece, Rachel, the council was getting a line item in there, right?
Yes, we have gotten funded for the next 2 years to do all the projects that we're currently doing in the schools and the summits and the council meetings and the youth club and the parent committee. So that's what we've gotten approved. And then after 2 years, they're hopefully going to allow us to continue if we reapply. So I know you can reapply after 2 years.
Yeah, but you need to reach out to Nancy and make sure you've got a line item, because they're going to try to do that again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were like, I think it was 3 or 4 kind of like projects, you know, like items that we had requested in there. So we do have, and I know 2027, I believe it's like maybe a March date or a May date. It's one of the ends. That'll kind of be when we end. And I know they have an opening, like, you know, like a period that they are open, but we're trying to just with our end is enhance like the data we're collecting to show effectiveness so that we can hopefully receive additional funding in the future to support more of our coaches and our schools.
So the funding, the operation, in other words, the federal grant, right, is ending here. Does that potentially affect Cindy, Alicia, in terms of keeping this afloat? Is that getting to what you were saying, Cindy? Are there funds available for that? Is there an operational component?
I mean, it would be easier to show, I think, what Lindsay's doing to piggyback on the grant we've already gotten to show. I'm worried about the UNG component. Lindsay, were they on the call?
I don't think we have anybody from UNG like on there. I don't think so. Oh, do you mean yesterday?
Yeah.
So we had like individual calls with Nancy and I think Nisa to kind of talk about like our data collection and like our planning. So it was an individual call just with us and them to talk about reporting and things like that.
Since Katie's left, and I know she's there, but I just haven't received a lot of, I mean, I offered money to UNG for scholarships and I can't even get anybody to call me back. And it was directly tied to this grant, you know, and people that are going into that field. And I'm just worried that where Katie had the vision for this and increasing the program she was the head of, I just hope that they're in the process of hiring teachers. If anybody's heard, let me know.
I'll find out. And then Cindy, about your one pager, I'll work on that. I may work like with Rachel or you or a couple of others, but we'll pull something together. I'm not going to make any promises. It'll probably be a week or two since school's just starting.
Well,
I will definitely be glad to share.
They don't start back. We had 2 representatives speak at our Rotary Club yesterday, Rick Jaspers and Brent Cox. And I just know that anything, any information they can give, we can give them helps because several of our people are heading up some of these committees. So anything we can give them to help them in their fight would be great. Lindsay, are they going to move this back to Atlanta next year? I'm missing my
They are not. So if you, I can't get, will you fix that where it'll go away? So they actually went ahead and gave us the dates for next year. And so it's the first week of April, which is actually spring break here in Forsyth County. So Rachel, you may want to go ahead and look for someone that would be willing, you know, to attend, but it will be housed the 6th through the 9th. It would be back at the Gaylord. It was very easy. I drove. It was a very easy drive. Parking was easy. It was just navigating all around, you know, the convention center where you needed to go. You know, that was the hardest part, but I would say by day 2, you figured it out. They actually have an app and it'll like, you can turn your location on and it'll track you to help you find your room. So I did rely on that quite.
You have kids, the Gaylord has a great deal of
Yeah, I just found out about that.
If there is anybody,
yeah,
if there is anybody that would love to go, if you could shoot me an email, and so I can talk about the detail because I will be buying the tickets actually soon to get the early bird discount, and we only got funding in this new grant to send 1 person. So if it would benefit you or your organization and you really, really want to go, shoot me an email today.
So it's really good. Like I highly recommend, like I'm one of those, like I would love to go again, but I also want to give somebody else on the council an opportunity to go and learn because there's a lot of case studies, a lot of scientific research. I think in the coming years, in a couple of years, we as in Forsyth County will have a place at a conference like this. We are doing a lot of great work. Our community, our schools, and I think we are getting eventually to the point where we should share some of the great things that we are doing with other school districts. And so last statement I want to share, you guys were talking about how I gave you a lot of information, and I know I did. Send me emails. I don't have it in my slides. I'll add it before I send this to Rachel or Janice, whoever is going to handle that. But I'll add that in there. Send me emails. I'm happy to download presentations, or if I shared something and you want more. There were tons of like data points, you know, that they shared with us as well. And a lot of times in the plenary session, I just had to, you know, kind of jot down what they were. And I've not actually taken, you know, like the time to look up where the source was. But like on the first day, they had shared how there were 87,000 overdose deaths, but that was actually down from 114,000. There had been a 24% increase. So I didn't get like the data source to some of this. I need to like look back up. But we've had like a 30% reduction in drug overdose as well. And so while we have a reduction in overdose deaths, we don't know if that's because of Narcan, but we still have a lot of work to do. That was one thing they really shared with us, is that while these numbers are great, we're seeing a reduction. we still have a ton of work to do. And one thing that Todd Hawk has shared with us, he goes, you can't stop what you don't know. And so I think it's important that we stay abreast of all of these different things. I know when I heard about like the Finibet, I'm like, oh, I'm sure like some people on the council have heard about that and the work that we are doing. And then if Matt doesn't know about it, then it must be new, like, you know, and trending. So I'll try to put together some of that. That way it can be easily dropped into the newsletter that Janice will send out. But again, I'm happy to share anything. I'm going to leave out my resources here. I would like to keep these. So if you want some, like I know we can get them online. This was a really cool promotional item. It was put out by Operation Prevention. And so this is like a parent handbook. You can buy these from their website. Of course, they do have a cost, but it's really, you know, cool, different things, tobacco, alcohol, vaping, a lot of different things in here. I believe this was from the DEA. It was like drugs of abuse. So they actually like list out what they are, if it's a narcotic. So it's got other names it goes by. So this was a cool, like handy tool. They also shared like a handout that has like emojis that are used, like how to decode text messages. This was from the DEA. This is free. Anybody can download this online. So it'll kind of show you what those emojis are. So I want to leave some of this laying out for you guys to take a look and then see, you know, if there's anything you feel like we can utilize as a council to help increase our presence here in the community. So I'll stick around if anybody has any questions, but feel free to email me. I wanted to mention to you guys too that I have moved offices. So if you're at county office looking for me, I know there's a few of you that pop by and would see me. I'm over in our new safety building. So it's right behind the Board of Ed. So you'll still have to be buzzed in, but shoot me a text and feel free to stop by and see us in our new space. So,
hey, Lindsay, one more question.
Yes.
Is there anywhere we can get those drug disposal kits for free?
Can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Is there anywhere we can get those new drug disposal packets for free?
The RX Destroyer ones?
Yeah.
I don't know about free. I know they gave us really good pricing since we were using them in a school setting. I have a few that I can give out. And then when I saw them again at CADCA, they were actually like, we can't fly all of this stuff home. And because so many people flew to the CADCA conference, you couldn't take this through airport security. So they did give me some. So if anybody needs any, I do have a few pouches, not like in the masses. I think I may have like 10 or 15 pouches that they gave me. So I'm happy if anybody wants any of them. I am going to hold on to the bottle because I'm going to give it to our lead nurse, Heidi, so she can actually see what I would like to get for next year. But they were relatively inexpensive. I know for us, they were cheaper than buying the doTERRA pouches, and they held more pills and liquids than what our doTERRA pouches held. And we were buying the large doTERRA pouches. So it was like a better cost benefit to us. But I'm also happy to reach out to them, Cindy, you know, and ask if they ever have grant opportunities. But
I was just thinking with everybody that's doing, I'm on this opioid, I don't know what they're calling it, task force for Rotary. And I'm fearful that, you know, people are going to put grants in to get things like this, which is good, but that it'll wind up that other people will be getting a massive grant and they'll be giving it out free.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I will definitely try to find out if there's a way we can get some. But I don't know of any, if that makes sense. I've been thinking if they should budget for it. I don't know of any way to get it free right now, if that makes sense.
Cindy, did you hear the rumor that Lindsay's running for county commissioner?
She's got my support.
I love my community, but
She'd be great. She'd be great.
I like working on the prevention side of things. I do enjoy my work. You know, when I go to things like this, and you know, you hear it's always you know, something changing. When I came into prevention a long time ago, somebody shared with me, you're gonna feel like you're doing whack-a-mole. And that's true. I see that now. So it's always something new and something trending. And one last thing I want to share from Tall Top Says Stop was he had shared the evening before he went to a convenience store that was somewhere close to the Gaylord. And he had a picture, like you had, you know, like a wall behind a cash register, and down in the floor was like all these boxes. And within those boxes, they were mounded with vapes. I mean, like all the different brands. And so he's like, hey, what's up with like all of those? And he's like, vapes are so cheap now that we have a surplus of them. And he's like, I'll make you a deal. And so he was saying that convenience store operators are wanting to just make a deal because they've got such a surplus of vapes that are available now. You can buy them like so cheap. And I actually, this past weekend, we were up in Virginia, and I probably can't find the picture quickly, but on a convenience store sign, it was like you could buy 5 vapes for $20. Like it was super cheap. I took a picture really quick. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that kind of, validates what you were sharing with us about having a surplus of those. So these are just things that I felt like were helpful to share with you guys so that we can be on the lookout and have the knowledge to help keep our young people and also other people in our community safe.
So that was a yes, you're running for office?
Thank you, Lindsay.
I'm not at all. So let me know if y'all need anything. I'm happy to help in any way.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll send out we'll send that out, and also any events that are coming up. But yeah, we'll end there and see you next month.
Thank you.
It looks like outside my house.
Oh, I'm sure. Listen, anytime you have a woman living in the house.
You were over it.
I walked up there and I went downstairs.
So much stuff. It's so much stuff. Like, no problem.
I just love it.